And the FDA is cracking down on companies that produce flavored e-cigarettes for creating products that are too appealing to teenagers. FDA Commissioner Scott Gottlieb appearing on CNBC's Squawk Box earlier today, calling teen use of e-cigarettes, quote, nothing short of an epidemic, and laying out his plan to tackle the issue. Watch.
What we're working on right now is a plan where we would require these companies to have to file applications with the FDA demonstrating that the flavored products have a net public health benefit, that they're going to entice more adult smokers to quit combustible tobacco and move on to e-cigarettes or off tobacco altogether, versus enticing more young kids onto these nicotine products.
For more, we are joined by Michael Lavery, analyst at Piper Jaffray. Can't remember the last time the FDA was a friend or the spark for a rally for some of the tobacco stocks, but that's what we saw yesterday. Does that make sense that these companies would be big beneficiaries of what the FDA is about to do?
Directionally, no question. The cigarette companies make all their money in cigarettes. That's the high margin business where they have scale, and they all have smaller vapor e-cigarette businesses, but they're still in investment mode. They make little or no money there, and in some cases lose money.
Is what Scott Gottlieb's saying there a little bit of an overstatement? Because clearly the whole point of e-cigarettes is that they were healthier than cigarettes. Is that fair, or were they only fractionally more healthy by taking out the tar but not the nicotine?
The UK government has in fact said that they're 95% less harmful than cigarettes, and so there's a clear case for reduced risk, though not no risk. And the concern the FDA has now in the US is that they believe youth initiation is a concern because they think there's greater uptake of e-cigarettes than there had been, and that's what they're trying to address now.
And so is there any data about those who start with vaping, and those who start with e-cigarettes at a young age and then kind of graduate to actual combustible cigarettes? Because that seems to be the main fear long term.
It's a relatively young category. There's not extensive data. Maybe the one best source is a survey that Juul, the leading brand, did of its own users, about 19,000 of them, and just slightly more than 2% became smokers, and almost all of those were lapsed smokers who had not been smoking when they started using Juul, but went back to cigarettes. And so there's obviously a little bit of it, but it's quite modest based on that survey result.
This is going to be a huge problem for Juul, right? Isn't what they do? Don't they dominate this market of flavored e-cigarettes?
We estimate from the retail scanner data about 90% of their sales are not traditional tobacco flavors, which we would call menthol and tobacco, or traditional tobacco flavors. They have other ones like mango and creme brulee, and that have gotten a lot of traction. But there's a gray area. 35% or so of sales are cool mint, which is not too different from menthol. And so it's hard to know how many people would switch from one of those flavors to a different one if they were forced to do that, or cut back use. That's obviously what the FDA would hope for.
Just talk us through quickly the numbers on Juul. How long has it been going, the sales at the moment, the valuation, and it's moving into some new markets, which could be quite a boost for it.
It launched roughly 3 years ago in the US and has grown very rapidly. It's got about a 70% share of the e-cigarette market, and in the last 12 months of retail data had 1.2, 1.3 billion of sales in the US. It's just launched in the UK 1-2 months ago, and it's getting a launch in Canada underway right now.
And just how big of a competitive threat is Juul for big tobacco?
Well, it's a sentiment issue much more than a real driver of pain at the moment. They seem to be, by their own survey results, driving a lot of their users from either non-smokers who don't go on to smoking but do use Juul, or lighter smokers who increase their nicotine consumption. And so their sourcing from cigarettes has been fairly modest. We estimate something less than 1 point of a hit to the cigarette category.